Hazardous chemicals forcing a playground to close, keeping children from being able to play in their own backyards. The problem now spreading to more homes.
The EPA came in afterwards. They came and said that we had to leave immediately.
Channel 9 learned the intense environmental cleanup near an old textile plant in Cheraw could last indefinitely.
Now families are filing more lawsuits over the contamination hidden for decades. South Carolina Bureau reporter Greg Suskin learned why the serious health threat is far from over.
It was literally like a wave, all of a sudden just...
Barbara Bullard still hasn't recovered from the day Hurricane Florence dumped 22 inches of rain on Cheraw and left a foot of water in her home. Then the EPA showed up.
They came and said that we had to leave immediately. The house was not safe to spend one night in it.
It was the same for 4 of her neighbors because of contamination from PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, chemicals once used as coolant for electrical equipment until they were banned in 1979. The problem wasn't discovered for nearly 4 decades. This is Highland Industries from Chopper 9. It was once Burlington, the company that dumped the toxins. The poison oozed into creeks, parks, and yards, like Demetris Merriman's on Pecan Drive. She doesn't let her 2 children play in the yard, worried about their health.
It's just shocking, just knowing how dangerous this is and how long it's been here.
Channel 9 was there when the EPA began cleaning up the Superfund site in 2017, hauling away tainted soil from a half-dozen homes behind the plant. But it became a much bigger problem. A creek had carried the toxic material down to Huckleberry Park, where children played. DHEC shut down the park, and last year crews began removing and replacing bad soil there. Then Florence hit, setting everything back months. You can see new squares of sod put down in Merriman's yard, which had PCBs again after the same drainage ditch flooded her yard.
After the hurricane, it got recontaminated.
The storm was the tipping point for George and Catherine Martin, who also live on the creek. Their yard was contaminated, and they filed this lawsuit against Highland Industries, alleging that Highland knew or should have known the property was contaminated when they bought it and failed to take action. The Martins want damages because they can't sell their home.
The house isn't worth anything anymore. My property's not, and I got all this money tied up here.
Highland is now working to clean up the ditch behind their plant where some of the contamination is. We went to Atlanta to talk to the EPA. Matt Heiser has been overseeing the work in Cheraw for 3 years.
The unfortunate part is that people did live next to this without knowing about it for a long period of time.
After the hurricane, the cleanup focused on houses like this one that were flooded, contaminated with PCBs, and evacuated after the water came up over the banks of this creek. Now, the EPA cleanup project has been expanded as they test for contamination 3 miles downstream, all the way to the PD River. There's no longer any time frame on how long their work will continue.
There's going to be additional investigation work and, if needed, additional cleanup work.
Nothing's changed for me.
Bullard's yard is still contaminated, and she's joined a class action lawsuit soon to be filed that may include dozens of others, as environmental testing continues on a winding creek that flows past damaged communities.
Greg Suskin reporting tonight. For several months, Channel 9 has asked for comment from Highland Industries and the former owner, Burlington. Neither has responded.